Welcome to Your Ultimate Life podcast, where we help you break free from mediocrity and create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Get your free video series at yourultimatelife.ca.
Hey there, welcome to today's episode of Your Ultimate Life. Welcome to Your Ultimate Life. Yesterday, I keep saying that because we did this every day for a couple of years, and it was shorter, 15 minutes every day. And so I always say yesterday. And it's been 2 years since we did that. We've got this going now 4 years. March of 2020 is when we started. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're into our 5th year of doing this. And when I started, I never imagined. You know the story of how it started? Here's a funny story, and it's perfect for our topic today. Today's your developmental story, and this is a piece of mine. So in March of 2020, right after the pandemic started and the word lockdown first started being used, lockdown, scary, like, what is that? How are we going to whatever, right? That someone called Joy, my beloved, precious angel wife, business partner, candle, fire, any beautiful word I can think of, she is and more. But anyway, they called her. It wasn't a client. It was someone who'd been in a mastermind with us many years ago, and probably in 14 or 15, so 5 years before. And they knew I did inspirational stuff and motivational and all the stuff that I do, right? To help you, 250 million people, claim your divinity, act in full power, and show up every way you can in the world and add good to the world. Anyway, called her and said, does Kellen have a podcast? And, we were talking lockdowns, and so, it was going to be isolated and everything else. And we didn't, but she said yes. She came down and told me we have a podcast. So I thought, what can I do in this beginning of this traumatic thing we haven't had in the world in any of the lifetimes of people now living to add good to the world and do something? So I thought, okay, Your Ultimate Life, how to create purpose, prosperity, and joy. And so some of those first episodes were about, dealing with the pandemic and our mindset and what to do. And it's continued ever since. We did about 500 episodes, maybe 600. I don't know, 500 or 600 every day. And that took most of the first 2 years. We did miss some days because of moving and some other things. So 600 probably were 730 days in 2 years. So 600 in the first 2 years. And then we went to twice a week and lengthened the format to half an hour. So that's why I say yesterday. So what I was talking about today is about your developmental story, meaning the story of how you got to be who you are. Yesterday, I talked about ideas and results, generating ideas and creating results. I said yesterday again, last episode, 869. Today, I want to talk about a piece of that because you're a genius. I know that. You're at least as smart as I am and maybe way smarter. And I know that you have genius, power, and capability to add to the world. I know that, even if I don't know you. And I love you to pieces for it. And my whole purpose is to encourage you to do something with it, to lean in, to say yes, to boom out with your authentic self. Now, I'm noisy. I get it. And maybe your method is quiet. But if you are consistent and focused and you show up in your way with your gifts, you will make a difference. And not only do you make a difference, you can also make money. And the reason you make money is because when you make a difference, you add value. Money follows value. And so if you make a huge difference, you can get paid handsomely. Like a lot, millions if you want. And that's not greed and extraction, extractive economy. You will be poured millions on because of the value you create. And when I coach somebody, I don't even propose a coaching arrangement unless I can easily see a way for them to multiply their investment by 5. 3 is minimum. So if I can't see 3 to 5 or more, sometimes 10, but if I can't at least see 3 to 5, I do not propose a coaching arrangement at all because they're paying in money. Now, there are some people that I talk to that have more money, and that's not even an issue. And so then the 3 to 5 is not as easy to measure as zeros in a bank account, but it's still really easy to measure. And this is a mistake I used to make. by thinking that squishy things like connection to God, love, feeling good about yourself, happiness, all of those kind of things were too squishy to measure, and they're not. They're not too squishy to measure. You know how you feel. You know what life is about for you. And when you show up powerfully, you know that results just flow. And whether that's at work or getting a job or getting clients or creating products or services. I just got an invitation to attend a webinar about something that's been on my mind for 3 or 4 years, and that is certification. Certification certification program for what I do, creating your ultimate life. Now, I have exact specific processes and untold intellectual property. I mean, I've written 19 books, 20 if you count, participation books, and have 16 courses and all kinds, just boatloads of intellectual property. And I have really specific methods and tools that I use to help people connect with their divinity, claim their power, and get on with life in a powerful way and create results. So I could certify people if I wanted to. And people have asked me about that before, and I haven't done it. Anyway, I just got invited to do that, to another webinar about that by someone who's done tons of it, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of that kind of stuff. And so I registered because I'm curious. I want to go see. And I was also recently, 3 or 4 days before that, invited by someone else. Man, you need to certify. You need to get a program. You need to create trainers and master trainers or masters and, that kind of thing. And I love the word alchemist. You see it on my page, the alchemist of life. So I'm thinking about doing that. Now, why am I telling you all that? Because what do you care about what I'm going to do? Well, I'll tell you why. You have a path. And the path is from where you are to absolute purpose, prosperity, and joy. Now, those are the words I use for the ultimate life, a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. And I don't know what your words are, but you do. And if you don't, figure it out. Figure out what your words are. What would your ideal dream life be like? Would it be owning this place here? We have a great big vaulted ceiling and a beautiful view and spectacular things. I don't know. Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe it's something completely different than property or cars or money. And maybe it's a mix of a lot of things. For me, it's purpose, a reason I show up to breathe every day. And I have one. And I love it. And I lean into it. And I learn new ways to get better and more powerful at it every minute, every day. Prosperity, which includes boatloads of cash. Not because I'm dwelling in self-indulgence. I couldn't care less about that. I went through a 15-year period when that was all I wanted, was more money, more toys, more coolness, and it led me to places of death. So I don't care about that either. Prosperity, I want boatloads of cash, but the cash is to spread the message. And the third thing, of course, is joy, and of course, in all joyfulness and playfulness, I'm married to joy, and delightfully so. So here's why I wanted to talk about all that. You have a reason and a path from where you are to absolute ultimate life, your ultimate life, whatever it is. Now, I want you to define your words. Mine are purpose, prosperity, and joy. What are yours? If you don't have it right now, why not? If any of those answers point outside you, somebody did this, or I don't have that, or then you're making excuses. End of story. Now, that doesn't mean you can change things with a snap, because I spent decades making excuses and blaming and so forth and on and on and on. And it took me a lot of work to reclaim my power and to realize I was the architect of my life and I had built exactly what I was living in. And to decide I didn't like it and I didn't want to live there anymore was a difficult and arduous choice. And to get out of it required a lot of work. Like it wasn't trivial, simple, easy, or anything. It's the opposite. But the truth is there's always a path. There's a way from where you are right now to whatever it is you define as your ultimate life. There is. And the only question is, are you willing to walk it? You're going to start now, or you can put it off another day, week, month, year, decade. It's up to you, but you can have it. You can have it. Now, first thing, go to www.yourultimatelife.ca. If you don't have those gifts, what are you waiting for? They are the 5 master keys to create your ultimate life. They're not going to cost you any money, but if you implement them, they are going to cost you blood, sweat, and tears, effort, energy, focus, and the results are infinite. So today it's about your developmental story. So what in the world is that? Now, I'm not the first person in the world to say something like a developmental story or developmental process or anything like that, but I use it in a very specific way. One of the things I do better than anyone that I know in the world is help people write their books, create their programs. In other words, turn their experience and wisdom and learnings and talents into something that provides value. Why? Because money follows value. And when you focus and figure out what you have powerfully, you can make the most difference. Now, a couple of episodes ago, I talked about a very specific process of how to monetize your life story. And I gave the steps, 3 master keys, and I have a whole product about that. Today, I want to talk about one element of that, which is what I call your developmental story. Now, here's what I mean by that. You are where you are right now. You have the life you have the attitudes and beliefs you have right now. You have the money you have the job you have, or the business you have, or none. Like you are where you are right now. So how much time do you spend worrying about the past? What you didn't do or did do or could have done or should have done? Studies say that on average, it's 40% of our time. Another 40% is worrying about the future, something that hasn't happened yet, and likely most of it never happens. Only 20% is spent in the present, and of that, 12% is spent worrying about trivialities like, what am I going to have for dinner? Only 8% of our time, according to this particular study, is spent here in the present. Now, who you are at this moment is the product of your developmental story. And I call it a story because everything in life is a story. Everything. You call it facts, incidents, they're just things. Okay, stuff happens and you decide what it means. You decide how it impacts you, even if it physically impacts you. So I have had a separated shoulder and a separated knee, left knee, right shoulder at different times in my life. I still have lingering effects from some of that. I decide what that means. I decide whether to curse it or love it, laugh at it, lean into it, and live with it. In fact, maximize it. Or I can be mad at it and wish it would fix and say, why isn't it healing? And it's been now decades since one of them happened, 2 of them. They were about 2 years apart. And they had to do with what? Extreme skiing. Okay. Your developmental story is the entire process of your life that has brought you to who and where you are right this minute. The first piece of your developmental story is understand that it's what creates your uniqueness. It's also what creates your absolutely inimitable, there's a big word, inimitable value. Like I've looked at you. So I sat here and looked at you and told you you're worth an infinite amount of money. In this world, in this economy, in your present circumstance, you're worth infinity. But 99% of people, maybe bigger than that, will never identify and capitalize on the intrinsic value you have. You think you need to be somebody like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or, someone who has, unbelievable ideas or perseverance or something. You don't. You'll have to exhibit some of the same qualities: a willingness to fail, fall on your face, be laughed at, perseverance, guts, move forward, determination, commitment. Yeah, you will, or you won't get there. But you can do it. You have it. You have the intrinsic worth. So your developmental story is the set of things that have happened to you and are part of you that bring you to where you are. So there are 3 elements that are in your developmental story. There are the skills that you've learned, and you've seen me talk about this triple helix. This is the rope of your most effective offering. So I've said all this before, so I'm just going to be really brief this time. But you have a set of skills that you've learned. Maybe you're an architect. Maybe you're a builder. Maybe you're a pizza delivery person. Maybe you're a gourmet chef. Maybe you're a lawyer. Maybe you're whatever. You have many skills that you've developed, and skills are usually those things we've sold in the marketplace to make money. I read this morning a study that was very disturbing. This particular study said that 84% of people are not happy with their jobs. Well, it's not a surprise because you're only using 1/3 of your skill. Well, if you're only using 1/3 of your chops, no wonder it's not satisfying. The 1/3 you're using is the set of one of the skills or more of the skills that you've developed. Well, you're worth so much more than that. You know what part two is? Part two is your natural gifts. Natural gifts don't only include art, music, poetry, acting, dancing, those kinds of things, athleticism, and so forth. They include all of those are physical things. They include all the spiritual nuances. Maybe you listen better than anyone else. Maybe you love fiercely. Maybe you have intuition. Maybe you read between the lines. Maybe you know exactly what to say to people. Maybe you're someone that people just trust. Maybe you have the air of sincerity and truth. Maybe you're more compassionate than anybody around you. All of those things and hundreds more are gifts that you have, that you have one or more, 10 of. You have them. So you have skills and you have gifts. Are you marrying those? Are you combining those in powerful ways to increase the value you have in the world? You can. If you don't, then you won't be worth as much. If you do, you'll be worth more. The third and most important thing you have is your life experience. And mostly it's the things that beat the crap out of you and made you sad and want to give up and quit. Bankruptcies, divorces, deaths, people betraying you, cruelty, abuse, this mental illness, physical illness, stuff that has beat the crap out of you, yet you have gone beyond and become resilient. Now, if you're still furiously stumbling and struggling around in the aftermath of that, then there's a lot of opportunity for you to grow. Because those kinds of bashings either ruin you or they refine you. Often they do both. Sometimes, many times, our first reaction is anger, frustration, negativity. Why me? How dare you? How dare they? What is God thinking? All that kind of stuff. And so we rebel and we get angry. I have a client who talks about suing God for all the difficulties. Or they refine us. And sometimes they do both. They ruin us, and then they refine us. So that's the third leg of your stool. It's your skills, your gifts, and your life experience. What are the things that you have learned, usually by bitter trial and work, that have made you powerful, that have given you insight, capability, wisdom? When I look at my own life, there's several, like at least a dozen things, but one that is powerful for me and very present all the time is patience. I used to be so impatient. I wanted and expected everything now. How come I can't fix it now? Get it now. Find it now. Be it now. Why isn't there a fast track? That was just the drumbeat of my life. And part of it had to do with my mental illness. During the decades I was struggling with depression because I thought I needed to prove something. Why can't I do this faster and better so that I can get approval, so that I can be okay? Now, that's all gone. And the untold struggles that I've dealt with, and we're not going to talk about any of those today, but they're in the book Tightrope of Depression, my journey from darkness, despair, and death to light, love, and life. The outcome of that journey has been, one of the many, is patience. I have patience like I never had, never even would have imagined. And it's a joyful patience. It's not an impatient, resigned patience. It's a joyful patience in the recognition that things happen as they must. And they happen as they must, even when I try hard. And they develop me better and more in a more textured and rich way when I embrace the process, lean in and love it. Wow, what a thing, right? So that's me, and that's one. If you dig into those three things, your skills, your gifts, and your life experience, I want you to find the gold. Like take some time, take an hour, take a day. Maybe it's broken up into pieces because of your other commitments, family or job or whatever it is. But explore your heart. Like, who are you? What have you become? because of these things. Like you've studied and learned things. Maybe you've ignored your gifts. Maybe you've still cursed your life experiences to this day. I don't know. But if you look at those things and allow them to refine you, educate you, lift you, bless you, they will polish you and you will be more powerful. Your gold will be rich, textured, and guess what? Valuable. The combination of those things will give you your life purpose. It will dawn on you like clarity, boom, light. But it will require that you choose. It will require that you experiment. It will require that you fail and fall on your face. Failure isn't anything except an IDP, interesting data point. I have a book that is underway. It won't be out for a year at least because I'm not working on it actively right now. But the outline is complete, and the name of it is Failure, the Art and Science of Challenging Boundaries. That's all it is. Failure is a data point about what works and what doesn't work. Yet we create an indictment, a personal indictment of our character, worthiness, effort, skill, value, etc. It is none of those things. None of them. The gold is in your developmental story. It is the process that you have been through to come where you are. Whether it was lumpy, like most of us, like it is with most of us, or smooth, doesn't matter. Your developmental story is your gold. It is the key. It is the magic potion. It is the secret ingredient. If you've seen Kung Fu Panda, opens the dragon scroll, the secret ingredient is you. And what is you? It's your skills, your gifts, and your life experience. If you meld those together powerfully and intentionally, you will find boatloads of gold. Okay, if you want help, in this book, there's a matrix that I have that helps you with your developmental story. Get it and do it, because that'll be worth millions to you if you choose to monetize. And it will be worth life-changing things for many around you. That's my 250 million. Using my developmental story to help you realize what I'm talking about, who you are and what you have for me and everybody else. So the last thing I want to talk about is, okay, I realize that I'm unique and valuable. I've gone through this developmental process, looked at my skills, my gifts, and my life experience. And so I found the gold. In fact, I'm standing in front of this enormous pot of gold. You can't see it. It's behind me there. Or it's in that fireplace. I don't know, right? If you're not watching the video, I'm sorry. There's a big, beautiful fireplace. And the picture behind me is this gorgeous, spectacular, looks like a mountain home overlooking a beautiful thing. I'm not there physically in that place, although I have been there because I took this picture. But anyway, now the question is, after you find it, then what? Well, that's the interesting question. Because as you find it and after you find it, you don't have to wait. I've got to find it and get all tuned up. No, you don't. The discovery is half the fun and half the value, because everybody has fear about them, where they are right now, what they're worth, and everything else. So the process of this finding and moving and creating your MOE, most effective offering, the weaving together of your skills, gifts, and life experience, is a rewarding journey. But now that you're on the way, or you feel like you found it, or at least the first version, then what? Well, that is your choice, because you're an infinite creator. You have access to the power of the universe. When I died and had 3 conversations with God at the door between life and eternity, one of the principal 4 things I came away with was the truth that all the help we need is available from both sides of that door. One side being the earthly side and the other side being the infinite, where I had, where God was and where we had these conversations. All the help I need and you need is available, period, end. No exceptions. So after you find it, then what? You have lots of choices. You can rejoice and be happy because you've got it. You can enjoy it. You can share it in a limited way with a few people around you, your family and those, to lift and bless those. You can share it fiercely and furiously in volunteer work in your church and community and online. I know people that are heavily involved in mental illness help, and others. I know a fellow right now who a few weeks ago was a guest on my podcast, and his mission is to help people getting out of prison, convicted felons, because it's so hard for them to get a job. I have another person that I love dearly who has a company, and he hires only trans people because of the difficulty associated with getting a job and the prejudices that still exist. So those are people using their gifts in certain ways. Your gold, your powerful thread, your maximum effectiveness. Like, what are you going to do with it? Like I said, you can keep it to yourself. You won't want to. You'll want to shine your light. Beacon of light, vessel of love, conduit of power. The other thing you can do is create cash. Big, powerful, plenteous cash. Now, why would you do that? Well, what I can promise you is you won't do it just to be rich. You won't do it just to swim around and see how cool you are, because that will have evaporated. That desire will disappear as you go through this process. You will do it to love and to serve and to lift and to bless. And the more wealth and position you accumulate, the bigger your reach will be. This isn't hypothetical. This isn't, well, you could be altruistic. You will be. And the reason is because of the process you went through to find your most powerful gift. So that's why I say, okay, this triple helix, this MEO, most effective offering that consists of your skills, your gifts, and your life experience, if you do the work, you can make the biggest impact in the world. That means help the most people. You will have the most fun because you're drawing on all the parts of your soul, and you'll make the most money. That's just the outcome, because that is the thing where you and I are the most valuable. Now, my work, my life purpose is to, now that I have done that, and I have it, my most effective offering, it is to serve others who are seeking to find that and to figure out what to do with it. For example, I help people write books. I just got an email this morning from a previous client introducing me to someone else who wants guidance and help writing their book, creating their story, and making a difference. That happens all the time. So my use of that is to serve you, to lift and bless your life, to help you identify, empower, and develop your most effective offering. Sometimes that means writing books. Sometimes that means creating courses. Sometimes that means repairing damaged relationships. Sometimes that means changing how you view yourself. Sometimes that means cleaning up old messes in the past. Sometimes, almost always, that means radical self-forgiveness, because we spend so much time judging and getting down on ourselves that all we do is carry baggage. And then we've got nothing to offer because our light is so dimmed with negative self-talk and fear that other people are going to find out whatever it is, right? That can all disappear right now. I promise. The work is rigorous, but it's worth it no matter what. So that's my work. $250 million this year. I invite you to get a hold of me if you want my help. But whether you use me or not, I invite you to recognize your divinity, your capability, and your possibility. You're divine. Because of that, you have infinite capability. And because you have infinite capability, the possibility for you to create purpose, prosperity, and joy is without limit. Without limit. The only limits that exist are the ones you create and the ones you allow to remain. This is your invitation. Reach out. Let's talk, so that you can move forward joyfully, powerfully, and immediately to create your ultimate life.
Open your heart and this time around,
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellen Flukiger.
stand with with your heart in the sky and your feet